And welcome back, everyone. Blade versus Buffy debuts. And what are my thoughts on it? Well, we're going to get over and talk about it in a little bit. I do have some thoughts. So I am only going to fast forward through a little bit of this, obviously, but I do actually like the fact that it starts in like a vampire nightclub where vampires are about to do their thing. Buffy and Blade both come in just to save, kill vampires and save a little girl. We actually get to see them both just doing their vampire slaying. Like, this could have been honestly a great little short film with them teaming up, given the circumstances. By the way, the woman playing that vampire was clearly having the time of her life. Like, oh yeah, I get some lines. I'm not in a death battle itself, but I get some lines. And then obviously they bring out their weapons, and Blade. I do like the fact too. Hold on. I like the fact that all these vampires know they're about to have to fight the Daywalker and the Slayer, but the actual DJ puts the music up. That's hilarious. I like that too. That's pretty fun. And obviously we then get to the actual reasons. So at this point I'm wondering, okay, she got just mistaken for a vampire? Like, why? Why are they going to start fighting? And then it makes sense. Right here, he sees she's been bitten, turned into a vampire, and he brings out the breathing gun, which is a terrible name, by the way. And he kills her, straight out kills her. And Buffy sees him now as a threat, and they start the fight. And I'm gonna be, I do like, you got the aura farming posing. Okay, right there when Blade talks, I don't know who this actor or performer is. He does the physicality great. Like, physically, he's fantastic. Not the voice I would have had for Blade. No, I can't help that or can't do anything about that. I don't think they can't do it. They chose him for the physicality and, for the look and the drip and all that. Not necessarily the way he sounded. Because to be fair, I'm used to Wesley Snipes sounding like Blade, or at least Sticky Fingers when he was in the series. He had a more like a whisper style of talking. It was still a little rough, but in a different way. I don't know. Something about his voice just didn't work for me. Also, the fact, by the way, that he does have as large of fangs as he does. I don't know. Again, I remember growing up watching the Wesley Snipes playing the swords. That's pretty damn cool. And I do like the fact she's just trying to hit him with a crossbow. It's like, yeah, he's blocking all of them. And he's just like kind of like a sentinel robot there. And then the actual fight really breaks down. Now, again, with that, but should note that I did find the breakdowns pretty good, all things considered. But I will say that once we get into the actual breakdown for who wins, why Buffy won, I'm not gonna lie, I take some issue with some things. But I do like the fact he uses his sword as a, and there's a bit of a Wesley Snipes kick there. I do like the fact that, but I do. Look, they're relatively skilled. They're both pretty skilled. But I do think, I do like the fact that Buffy, I like the fact he gets hit in the face. I like the fact that, you had a day in mind. I will admit, some of the actual Blade Wesley Snipes quotes are a little rough around the edges for delivery. But yeah, where was I trying to go with? I like the fact that Buffy isn't completely just overwhelming him, despite what they said. Found out actually immediately the light makes that water look a bit like blood. I also find it a little weird that he's overpowering her, although they say she's much stronger. I don't. That just strikes me as odd. That really does. I mean, I like this scenario here. And then it's like he's awesome motherfuckers all trying to skate uphill. And then we're getting ad right now. I don't have ad blockers because as a content creator, I respect the fact that that YouTube you got to make your living through ads, among other things. But again, the dialogue's a little rough around the edges. I'm going to be honest. Honestly, for Buffy, the dialogue's fine because there's not a lot of dialogue either. Should note that this isn't like Red Hood versus Winter Soldier. By the way, the kicking the glasses around, I felt like they were trying to set that up for a moment, like in all the movies where Blade just picks up his glasses, just does the wow It puts it on slow. She's got to get her Slayer weapon. He fires his breathing gun. Look, I'm not gonna lie, Blade. You're probably, which that was a fun shot. Hits her in the leg. She's now basically she's bleeding out now for the rest of her life. Like she will die from that essentially, unless some magic she can magic that off. This is honestly where I kind of was really convinced Buffy was gonna win, because the minute he says, "Let's say you cut through adamantium," like and the fact is that he's clearly still fresh, like roughly where she's injured. Like they're really making her the underdog in this fight. This is where I pretty much kind of figured out that it's gonna be Buffy. Which, by the way, you should note that is really an impractical weapon to be using. Yeah, it's an axe, but and Boys is like, no, it's not. It's actually this. Like, yeah, whatever. But yeah, like comparatively, anyway. And then he cuts her leg, and this is where we get the final fight or final. I mean, great. That is a fantastic shot. The glowing eye. Love the fact they got that effect going. But yeah, just taking his time a little too much. That's the other thing too. I get it. It's for the sake of the battle, and because she's gonna win. But realistically, you do not freaking hesitate in a life or death battle like that. But yeah, okay, and then she puts him to the heart, and she takes the head off. And I know it's secondary adamantium, so it's not as. Oh, wait a minute, I must have fast forwarded through that. She picked up. I missed that part. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Again, it's to be Blade continued. Okay, so they reference that she actually has more comics and novels and stuff like that than he does, which is wild to say. I guess they're including the novels on that. And they break down the stats on this. Okay, right out the gate, stat-wise, I feel like I'm overall okay with the stats generally. But if you're talking about durability, he has a better healing factor than she does. So right out the gate, that's something that's not really addressed. For the fight anyway. I mean, physicality, whatever. I can't really talk about she's physically stronger. They both have relative light speed feats, whatever. I can live with that. And honestly, the scaling, at least for durability, I can deal with that as well. Don't really have that much of a problem with it. Yeah, anyway, but these, like, the multiversal feats and the cosmic feats, I'm sorry. Okay, so yeah, she takes it on stats. He took it, though, on versatility with his gear, weaponry, all that, because that just makes sense. He naturally just has more stuff on call than she does. But this is really going to be, I think it's in the next one, we're really going to have some issues coming up here. Because, again, right now, they do give him the win on this. Have no problem there. Okay. Okay, versatility. But so they give her the win on skill. Okay, so this is where it starts to get tricky. And versatility, we'll talk more about that when we talk about the trump cards. But I'm gonna honestly, and they gave her the trump card because her weapon was just kind of more effective. I will say though, if you know the bullets will just track their target, I mean, if you know what your target is, boom, 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 and then just go after. Like, maybe you actually have to aim. Maybe that's it. Because if you don't actually have to aim, then as long as you're like, you're my target, boom, 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 they're all going to come after her. But regardless, the skill thing, I know that they were using Wesley Snipes' real jiu-jitsu, like a real martial arts knowledge and practices. But Blade clearly must know other martial arts beyond that as well. He is a highly seasoned martial artist. And that's not me trying to say, oh, they downplay Blade. I'm not saying that. Look, the problem for me with Buffy And the fact that and pretty much all the feats that they were giving Buffy have to rely on like magical scenarios. And like that's just not what this was. She's not fighting a magical being. Like her resistances, for example, are magical resistances. They give her resistance to certain things when it comes to magic, not a bullet, which we've seen, not a blade, which, and again, she got hurt in the fight for that. But beyond that, like the ability, they bring up things for Blade that are just never freaking used. They make the argument that, yeah, Angel once drained all of the blood, nearly all the blood out of her body, and she survived because of her magic. But the fact is, Blade can literally rob magic. He can literally drain that vampirically. So whatever magic she has in her body, you would think he should be able to, if he bit her and start drinking her blood, start draining that magical protection she has. That's how that in theory should work. Now, I know I think they kind of explained it a little bit, but I don't think they explained it well because they never, I think, addressed why the magical, like, vampirism wouldn't work. So that was an issue I took with. They also bring up things like his berserker state, which is never brought up at all in this fight, and the fact that he can shapeshift. And like they even bring up like wind concert, like he can only turn into like mist and shove himself down your throat and blow you up from the inside. Why did this not happen? Hold on, because they have trump cards. They do go about talk about trump cards as well. And she talks about the inherent memories and experiences of the other Slayers versus his singular experiences, but I actually call that an even playing field at that point. Yeah, she hasn't had those specific experiences, but she can, while she can access them, it's more like doing the whole Avatar state, accessing the wisdom and memories when she has to, but he literally has been doing it by himself for that long. Like I feel like that's a middle ground kind of thing. And then the trump cards, like, yeah, he can. Yeah, they bring up things she survived having her blood drained, but not the magical draining. Like they don't bring that up. The shadow is described as a mist and smoke, and Buffy repelled it from entering her body. She also beat her version of Dracula, which could turn into mist by timing her strikes between his shape shifting. Okay, so I missed that part, admittedly, in the analysis. So all right, so if she can resist that, I'll at least give her some passes. But that doesn't mean, he shouldn't have brought it up still. Turning into bats still would have been cool. Granted, it would have given a bit of a special effects budget, but still. It's okay, I'll at least give you that. But, again, you're still not really, hold on. I'm actually going to put, I haven't done this in a while, but I'm actually going to put the, because I need to re-listen to that breakdown, because well, Blade knows Buffy, according to Marvel's Midnight Suns, it's his favorite show. Let's be real, he hasn't read the novels. Okay, I'll give him that. Okay. Yep. All right. The magic draining thing. Yep. Hold on. Okay, no, hold the fuck on that. That's not what fucking happened. The way it's described, her magical abilities let her survive. Her blood was drained, but her magical ability, and again, I might sound like I'm raging. I'm just saying, by their own logic, that's not what happened. By their own show's logic, that's not what happened. She had mystical protection, which allowed her to survive that. Him draining her magic is something that he could do. So, again, this is where, I don't know. I don't want to say there was a bias here. I rarely ever say that with Deathbattle. But I feel like something was missed here. Like context for scenes were missed here. Like, again, she had her blood drained, not her magical abilities. So, yeah, let's see. The size power means Buffy can't be sealed away and can resist magic nullification of Blade's Atlantean sword. Okay, great. That still doesn't mean she'd survive having her magical abilities drained. Like, They seem to equate the blood thing to actual magical resistance or whatever. The breathing gun homing bullets have been stopped before, like by Madget. The gun also can't hurt holy beings. Given Buffy's powers are angelic in the novels, the gun may not work against her at all. Okay, see, I don't follow Buffy as well. They didn't even bring that up, frankly, in the breakdown. So that's another problem on their part. Because if they had brought that up and they explained how the hell breathing gun doesn't work on angelic or holy beings, that probably would work. By the way, the whole eating multiverses thing. Look, I scale when it comes to scaling. When it comes to effing scaling, and I sometimes have to, and I try to explain this. Just because someone does multiversal feats doesn't mean they in and themselves are a multiversal being that only a multiversal weapon can kill. Case in point, I give you Zeno from Dragon Ball Super. The man can wipe out a universe timeline and a multiverse in an instant. But he needs bodyguards because he's not a fighter. He himself could actually be killed by someone without too much difficulty. I mean, don't get me wrong, you still need to be a powerful person. But you don't need to be Zeno's level of power, otherwise he wouldn't need effing bodyguards. I really do not... Again, overall, I enjoyed the episode. I did. I really need to get that out of the way right now. But there's just things in this fight that I don't really care. I don't care that Blade lost. And I don't care that Buffy won. It's the context of how they lost. This is the first battle with the new Deathbattle where I actually question the result just based on the research they're given. Like if I'm looking at these stats right now, Blade, I'll give the stats to Buffy. Yeah, gave Blade versatility. Skill, I honestly think that should be a straight out down the middle. I really do. Which means trump cards. Like, I mean, most of Blade's weapons are what they are. Mind you, we don't actually see him shooting at her very much with anything but the breathing gun. Doesn't he also carry actual guns that aren't just the breathing gun on him? Where were those in the fight? Like, because Buffy, for all of her power, is still human. She can still be shot. We know for a fact she can be killed with a gun. We've seen that happen where she was nearly killed with a gunshot. She can be stabbed. She can be run through. Despite having somewhat of a healing factor, she is actually not that much more. Yeah, she apparently has high durability feats, but she's actually not that much more durable than than the normal human in terms of conventional attacks like blades and bullets. So I don't know. In terms of like trump cards to end the fight immediately, I guess I honestly, comparing the two, the breathing gun and her Slayer axe, I'm just going to call it, it's not unfair. It's not unreasonable to think she had the edge there. Mind you, that's really all she had. Yeah, she had the Gorgon Venom too, I guess. Or the Gorgon Venom drip like stakes, but I don't know. I just feel like Blade got downplayed a bit. I think that's my biggest problem. I think like it felt like they weren't giving Blade the fullest attention or the fullest respect isn't the right word. It just felt like they underplayed him. Especially when you brought up several key things like shape-shifting, which admittedly, according to what they said, wouldn't really be able to do much in this case. But still, turning into bats would have been cool for a brief moment. I think they downplayed his skill. Just because I think when you factor in the experience that he's had singularly versus the way she can access the experiences of this. That's the thing too. Yeah, she has all the Slayer's experiences under her belt, or like technically under what's the word I'm looking for here? Under her belt. She has access to them, but it's how you access it. Like she doesn't constantly have the thoughts of all the Slayers in her body. That's just not how that works. So I don't know. Was it a good fight? Sure, absolutely. Did my guy win? No. And is that okay? Whoops, sorry. And is that okay? Sure. That's not a big deal that my guy lost. It's just the how he lost, the why he lost. And again, still not. And again, I'm going to belabor this point a bit, but the whole kind of I think the misunderstanding of her losing almost all of her blood feed. Like, as far as I know, her life energy was drained, the life force was drained too, but not her magical abilities. Hell, that's more or less what kept her alive. So if he drains her magical ability with her blood, well, then now granted, he would have had to hold on to her and like actually bite and drink her blood for a good long while. But still, I don't know. Is this a bad episode? No. Do I think they messed up some of the facts? Yeah, I actually kind of do. It's one of the first times in Deathbattle in a while where I think they actually kind of got some of the research wrong on this. Do I think she would have won overall based on how I feel about it? Yeah, I still think she probably would have won, but I think Blade had more avenues to win than they were giving him. But either way, I digress. Let me know what you think. Did you like the fight? Did you hate the fight? What did you like or hate about it? Let me know in the console. Do you agree with the outcome or how the outcome came? I'll say this. I think I agree with the outcome, just not how they got there. Either way, though, I digress. Again, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.